Hi, I'm Mal from the Money Study, bringing you another episode of our Take 10 Challenge, and we're up to number 86, all about saving for your home deposit. There's my disclaimer, all about facts and figures, information only, this is not advice. Okay, we're going to save, hopefully, money for our deposit. And saving money is no different than really for saving for a house than it is for normal saving as such. But there are just a few parameters that we need to take into consideration here. And really it just comes down to the number one thing is we just got to keep a look at our time frame is one of the biggest things we've got to do. But of course, like any savings, we've got to find the money to save. It's got to come from somewhere. And this is obvious. It's an obvious thing, and but it's the thing that people just don't seem to realise that to save money, we've got to basically have money to do it, and we've got to give up other things to basically be able to put money aside. So find out where your money is going, do a budget to identify how much you can afford to save, and basically start doing it. Put it in process. Actually create the budget, see what their surplus is, and literally put this money aside. Now, we've already talked about doing a bit of house price research if you're thinking about buying or renting and purchasing a home. But getting an idea, it's no point in just blindly just, oh, we're going to save for a deposit on a house. We need to have a bit of an idea of a target. Are we saving for a $500,000 house? Are we saving for $1 million house? And so it goes on. A little bit difference in our criteria and our time frame, obviously, and also depending on our incomes and so forth. But to have some sort of a goal, some sort of an idea, makes it far easier to stick to rather than this just sort of, oh yeah, we better put some money aside to save for a deposit on a house. It's so vague that really sticking to it would be exceedingly difficult because you don't know whether you're on track or not. So do your house price research, get an idea of the prices. I mean, that might just put you off straight away, of course, but you've got to have some sort of a goal to work towards. Become an expert in the area so you get to understand whether you're getting a good deal or not, but also understand all of the extra costs. Just because you look at the price of a house being X, take into consideration things like stamp duty, things like any sort of work you may need to make it livable or adjusted to your situation. And of course, if it is a unit, what are the ongoing costs going to be? Not just can you afford the loan, but if you have to pay body corporate and strata titles and all these sorts of things, a lot of other extra costs involved there. As we talked about in our last session, generally 20% is basically what the banks are going to be looking for. So that's an ideal, but of course, as we talked about with lenders' mortgage insurance, then that could be an appropriate strategy to use. Have a look at the Money Smart website. I keep on talking about the Money Smart website as a great resource for information, but their calculators are great, and they do have a savings goal calculator saying if you need to save $45,000 within 3 years or whatever it may be you need for your deposit, it will tell you exactly how much money you need to be putting away and how often and so forth. So it's quite good. But definitely with any savings, automating is the key. So you automate it, meaning that the money gets taken out of you as soon as it hits your bank account from your pay packet. The money is automatically put into the savings account. You don't see it. It's automatically removed from temptation. That's the way to do it. But as I say, the reason I'm talking about this more than just normal savings is this whole thing about it's a suitable time frame in the regard that we can't go away and use risky investments because of our time frame when we're going to need this money. You've, generally speaking, got a fairly, or hopefully, fairly short-term thing. We're trying to save money perhaps over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years or so to save for the deposit on a house. Now, obviously, it might be longer purely because of your situation, but it's still relatively short in the scheme of things, and of course, things may change. So if we've got a reasonably short time frame, then our risk also needs to be in line with that time frame. So anything to do with a shorter time frame, generally speaking, lower risk. We can't afford to put our money into something speculative in the regard that we might just put our money into, some think that, oh, that share's definitely going to go up. You buy it, only see it to fall, and there's our deposit dwindling, and we don't have time on our side for this share to do what we thought it might do. So no, unfortunately, share market really not an ideal place to be utilising for deposits on housing. It must be accessible. I had a horrible situation when I was working as a financial planner years ago. A young girl had decided to use a mortgage fund. Now, a mortgage fund is where effectively they put their money into an account which is then lent to people to buy houses. So, but because it was lent on mortgages, she was getting the higher yield, and she was actually making quite a reasonable return on her money. Trouble with the mortgage fund was that this was in 2007-8, and when the share market and so forth, mortgage funds were frozen, and even though she had a good deposit just about ready to use it, she couldn't get the money out again. The fund was frozen, and some of those funds were frozen for like about 6 or 7 years. So even though she had the money, she couldn't get it out. So so just you've got to be careful of the risks, not only of the losses, capital gains and losses and so forth, but also of the accessibility there. So use the calculator, find out what your savings capacity is, to do a budget, and then of course use the other ones there to find how long it's going to take. But I say avoid high risk strategies and don't get sort of trying to shortcut this, and because guaranteed, if you look for something that's guaranteed fast return, make you double your money in 3 years, whatever, nah. Anything that sounds too good to be true, generally speaking, is. Avoid the scams. We've just got to go boring, unfortunately, in this particular scenario here. So it could be the fact that we are indeed using, progress savers, term deposits, high level savings accounts, but we really are struggling here. We're limiting where we can put this money, literally because it's got to be accessible and it's got to be low risk. But we do want to look at what the government schemes are available, and I will certainly be going through those different schemes as well, because you've got to take those into account. That it could be that the first home loaners grant could indeed be a chunk that we don't need to find for our deposit and so forth. So you need to find out how that integrates with what you're trying to achieve. And of course, if we are saving money and you're doing it as a couple, then where is the money being saved and whose name is it in? Now, if you've got one partner, just imagine one partner is working with the other one, you've got a young child, and you're still trying to save for a house, and perhaps one partner is the stay-at-home parent, therefore their income is negligible. It could be the case that you're saving the deposit in the partner that's staying at home because their taxable income is less, meaning that if the interest on the savings is then taxed at the person who's got a lower taxable rate. So it's a case of you're just looking at the difference between the two people of the couple, just to try and, we don't want to be, getting some decent interest at last, only then to have to turn around and pay a big chunk of it as tax to the ATO. Now, of course, the whole business of, this whole business of saving for deposit, as we know, the more money we can accumulate in a quicker sort of time by earning more money is certainly going to help us. So the second job may be a necessity. Not ideal, obviously, if you've got younger kids and so forth, may be totally impractical. But if it's a case that you can pick up another job, especially if there's two of you, it may be difficult, may be not ideal. But of course, if it means we can get this deposit quicker, then it could be the fact that we're into our house faster, and or we've got more money to take advantages of it, being able to negotiate when it comes to purchasing a house or whatever. But people, I did one of my earlier sessions, we were talking about tax. I get amazed the number of people who are reticent to get another job because, I'll just pay more, I'm going to pay all this extra tax. Paying more tax means you're making more money. You're never going to be worse off. You're never going to be worse off by earning more money. Yes, you might be paying more tax, but you're getting greater income than you are in the taxation side of the equation there. So don't be afraid of earning more money. Anyway, we're going to go through some of these issues we've just sort of been hitting about in future sessions, and dare I say, there's a lot to understand in this whole process. Happy to have a chat to us, and look forward to you joining me on another session.